everybody, and welcome to another edition of A Chapter a Day Keeps the Doctor Away. My name is Alan, otherwise known as Hisui, and I'm from ReverseThieves.com as well as the Speakeasy Podcast. And this time I'm looking at One Piece Chapter 732, The Underground World. And actually I'm a little relieved because everything is kind of going into motion and they haven't had any more build-up. Because, man, after this kind of crazy, like, just every chapter, the stakes getting, like, more insane and, like, another element being added on, I'm kind of just glad that things have really begun to start. And, because I'm not sure how much more I could take. Plus, I mean, if it was any crazier, it would set a bad precedent. I feel like definitely after the, the whole Alabaster and Baroque Works arc, I feel like everything had just gotten so insanely, like, intense that a lot of people just didn't like Skypiea as much because it was just like there was no way you could live up to the awesomeness of the Baroque Works. So in a way, I'm like, man, Oda, you gotta rein yourself in there, or else whatever arc comes after this, it's not gonna be able to do as well. So fortunately, we've started. I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be some crazy complications, and I'm sure things are gonna be added. But at least we've had a kind of just like a chapter for everything that started to build up to finally start to unfold. And this chapter solely focuses on Frankie, Usopp, and Robin and their attempts to take on the factory. And so, the fairies and the toys are telling them a bit of their plan and how they plan to get into the factory, and they find that Usopp and Robin are basically svelte enough to get into the passage to get to the factory, but barely. So Frankie is just way too bulky to do that. So he decides he's going to basically do a frontal assault, and hopefully he'll just, make so much noise with his frontal assault that'll make the infiltration of the fairies and the other two Straw Hat members a little easier. And so, Frankie basically, pretty much what he's good at, making a scene, meets two of the, Don Flamingo family, including this guy who apparently is this huge slobby guy, but for some reason all the ladies love him. I have to assume it's some kind of power. And one of the other members who seems to be able to melt through stone. And, Frankie makes a big deal, makes a ruckus, uses a coup de vent, and apparently four, high-ranking members of the Don Flamingo family are convening in on him. I'm sure that Kimon and Zoro will have to take out some of the members that are zeroing in on them. But we get to see everybody now in the, the high-ranking members of the Don Flamingo family. Not their whole shtick, but at least, all their names and what they look like. And how there's 3 top-tier guys and then 10 guys below them. And I'm thinking the 3 top-tier guys are going to be a Zoro, Luffy, Sanji fight, and then the other guys are, kind of, for everybody else, maybe a little fight for Zoro and Luffy and Sanji before, they take on the three generals, and then, of course, eventually, Don Flamingo. But, yeah, at the end of the chapter, we kind of see, kind of the beginnings of what fights are going to start. Robin and Usopp, finally see the factory in the secret harbor under the city, and they realize it is huge. It is just like, there's these several huge ships, and the factory itself is gigantic, and there seems to almost be a small town of toy soldiers who are toy laborers, actually, I should say, who just work there tirelessly, in this kind of almost second city that is centered around the factory. And yeah, this is called the Toy House or the Toy Box. And so, a few notes. I totally forgot in the last episode that, yeah, we learned in the front chapter that the old grandma actually realized that Caribou wasn't her grandson, but she helped him out anyway. And that was kind of the big reveal and the kind of the end of that story. So that's good. Caribou is still kind of a wild card with Drake X. I'm undoubtedly going to come back. Just curious when. And now it's, reader requests, like they, did some kind of request in Shonen Jump, and now Oda is drawing certain requests as the chapter openings. So this one's Luffy versus a lizard in some kind of flag contest. But, the little subtitle at the bottom promises that, everything's really going to start next chapter. We're going to, beginning to see some fights. Obviously, Frankie has drawn enough attention, and he's already got 2 Don Flamingo main guys coming at him, so he's probably going to be the first one to trade blows. But I'm sure Robin and Usopp are going to run into somebody. One quick thing I did note, that apparently Sugar, the girl who can turn people into toys, her bodyguard seems to imply that she can use her, like, they're like, oh, they don't know where you are or that you even exist, so you can turn them all into toys. So she seems to have some way of being able to turn people into toys at a distance, probably without them knowing. So I guess, yeah, Usopp and Robin infiltrating and being able to take out this girl who can turn people into toys is like super important now, because if she can do it, invisibly or at a distance, yeah, she's going to be a real threat. So she's got to be taken out ASAP. But we'll see what everybody runs into. I'm assuming that if they don't stick with this storyline, they'll switch to the next group. But still, fun chapter. Glad to see everything's moving along. Because like I said, I'm not sure I could take another chapter wrap up. Alright. If there is another chapter, we'll see you guys next week.